We are in 1950s Italy. Ciccio is a farmer who's in love with Bianca. But Ciccio is married to Lucia and they have a son named Rocchino. Ciccio shows Rocchino the sheep he got. Then he goes inside his house and greets his mother. Ciccio asks if she has ever thought about living somewhere else with different people speaking a different language. Ciccio's mother has never experienced that feeling, she's happy where she is. Ciccio then says that Antonio didn't write this month and wonders if he has forgotten about them. But Ciccio's mother is convinced that Antonio always thinks about them. But Ciccio says that he wants to leave. Then there's Cumpa, the mayor and absolute boss of the farmers. He notices a beautiful girl and tells her that she can go to the barn and take a break. But when the girl is there, Cumpa takes advantage of her. Ciccio visits Maria and asks where her husband is. Maria says that he's still in town with the girls. Maria asks Ciccio what idea he put in her husband's head because there can be consequences if they oppose the mayor. Ciccio says that if she wants a better future for her daughters, this is what must be done. Ciccio goes to the place where the farmers get paid for their crops. They're all underpaid, so Ciccio makes sure to say that this year the olives are worth 2,000 lire per 100 kilogram. One of the farmers asks who would buy at that price. Ciccio says that he will. That way he's opposing the practices that the mayor has been doing so far. Ciccio is too excited and they all celebrate. Later Ciccio tells his father that Mario wanted to set himself on fire because his 13-year-old son, Pinuccio, died while he was working. And the police pretended nothing happened. But Ciccio's father tells him not to care about other people's problems and to just mind his family's business. Ciccio has had enough, so he decides to go spend some time with Bianca. Ciccio plays some music on the record player and they share a romantic moment. Luigi, the man who pays the farmers, meets with Cumpa to tell him what happened and demands that he do something about the situation with Ciccio. Cumpa says that he will talk to Ciccio. Ciccio is now talking to his friend Vincenzo, who tells him to be careful with Cosimo because he's Bianca's brother and he knows that he's already married, so nothing can happen between them. But Ciccio says that he will continue seeing Bianca because she's a woman like none other. At night, Ciccio goes to talk to Cumpa. Now we know that Cumpa is actually Bianca's father. Cumpa tells Ciccio that he knows his family very well. Ciccio tells Cumpa that he will not lower the wages, so if he wants there will be a war. Cumpa doesn't seem to mind Ciccio's words and allows him to leave. Some farmers find Luigi and hit him for how badly he paid them. The following day, Ciccio sneaks into Bianca's room to make love to her. Bianca is scared Cumpa finds out, so they go to the barn. Bianca asks Ciccio if he doesn't love Lucia. Ciccio says that he loves his wife but that Bianca is a different thing. In the morning, Ciccio almost gets caught by Cosimo because he slept there, but Maria tells Cosimo to leave so she can save Ciccio. Later, Lucia tells Ciccio that in the morning she didn't see their son and was almost going to die, but Giustino found him. Lucia tells Ciccio that their son was looking for him. Ciccio tells Lucia that he loves her and that he is not committing any sins. But after that he goes to spend time with Bianca. Ciccio tells her that they're leaving in 3 days and hands her a piece of paper saying that in the morning he will give it to Cumpa. Ciccio says that they're going to go where Antonio is and Bianca loves the idea. Cosimo tells Cumpa that he saw Bianca with Ciccio. Cumpa calls Bianca to tell her that she is the lowest a woman can be. The insult makes Bianca take off her dress in front of him. Cumpa immediately turns to look the other way. Bianca says that he doesn't act that way when he makes 15-year-old girls take their clothes off in the barn. At night, Ciccio kisses his wife on the forehead while she's sleeping and holds the letter he wrote for Cumpa. The following day, Ciccio hands the letter to Cumpa. But Cumpa tells him that he can't read, so Ciccio is willing to read it for him. But Cumpa tells Ciccio that he wants to show him something first. Cumpa points out all the land and says that it only needs water, and thanks to Ciccio they have plenty of it. Cumpa says that the soil is still moist despite the heat. Ciccio kneels down to touch the soil, and in that moment Cumpa hits him with the shovel from behind. And then with his knife, he makes sure to end Ciccio's life. The people from the town find Ciccio's body on top of a horse. While Antonio, Ciccio's brother, is at work, he's told about what happened to Ciccio. So Antonio, who's living in the north of Italy, packs a suitcase to return to his hometown. But now all the farmers who turned their backs against Kumpa are getting arrested by the police. Antonio attends Sicchio's funeral to pay his respects. Bianca runs away from her family to go see Sicchio. Once the funeral is over, Antonio goes to the police to see if he can figure out what happened to his brother. The policeman tells Antonio that the night before the incident, Sicchio came to the station for the assault of Luigi. After that, they saw him going home alone. And that's all they know. Sicchio's father doesn't care much about losing his son because he believes that Sicchio made a mistake and whoever makes mistakes has to pay. Sicchio's father continues to say that his son gave people hope and there's nothing worse than to give hope to people like them who have nothing. Then he tells Antonio to forget the house he grew up in, the people he met there and to never come back. Antonio wants to visit Kumpa, but Cosimo spots him from afar and runs inside the house to tie Bianca. Then when Antonio asks Cosimo about his father, Cosimo says that he's sleeping. Antonio tells Cosimo that he's not afraid of him and that the townsfolk know the truth behind Sicchio's tragedy. Kumpa turns Cosimo to the side to tell Antonio that his brother stuck his nose where he shouldn't have. Antonio tells Kumpa that the land is rich enough to feed everyone, but unfortunately, he can't understand that. Kumpa tells Antonio to leave before his father loses another son. Antonio says goodbye to his family and leaves on a train that will take him to the north of Italy. However, something inside Antonio changes, because he decides to get off the train and stay in his hometown to take care of an unsolved business. Antonio grabs Kumpa by surprise and hits him to death. Then when Cosimo appears, Antonio does the same thing to him. Maria screams when she finds the bodies and Bianca runs to see what happened. Later Bianca and Maria go out to buy some flour. However, the baker tells them that there's none. Bianca points out all the flour that's everywhere, but the baker tells her that there's none for them. Bianca is tired of everyone telling them the same thing. No one would sell anything to them, so now they're starving. So when the baker turns around, Bianca steals some bread. Their lives are destroyed because no one in the town wants them and they have to do all the work on their own. Bianca has no other option than to visit Luigi. He tells her not to worry because he'll handle everything by sending one of his teams to work on their land. But this comes at a price. Luigi wants to abuse her, but Bianca resists and escapes. Meanwhile, Antonio is working at a factory, but unfortunately, his coworker gets injured due to Antonio being distracted. This shocks him. Bianca is still thinking about Sicchio. She sees him, but it's all an illusion. Bianca remembers the time a snake bit her, and Sicchio stole a kiss from her when trying to help her because he knew it wasn't poisonous. Antonio meets his girlfriend after work. She shows him an apartment and tells him that her dad said that they like it, and they can move in less than a month. His girlfriend notices that there's something wrong, but Antonio insists that he's fine. Although she knows that he didn't go to the last factory meeting and that's not like him. Then another day when he's working, the director of the factory, who's also the father of his girlfriend, tells Antonio that if he needs to take some time off, it's fine. Antonio says that what happened was just an accident and he's okay with continuing to work. The director says that it's okay and just asks him to be good to his daughter. Once Antonio is done with work, he writes a letter to Bianca. She receives the letter but doesn't open it. Antonio's girlfriend also receives a letter from him that makes her cry. Because Antonio will return to his hometown. His mother receives him happily. Antonio wants to visit Bianca, so Maria tells him to wait a little bit while he goes get her. But in that small amount of time, Antonio has second thoughts after he sees a picture of Bianca's mother, so he leaves. Antonio is now confronting his dad about this picture that he saw because it's the same picture his mother found in Antonio's wallet years ago. Antonio's father has to come clean about this and reveal that Bianca is actually his daughter. Bianca now opens the letter, which simply says that Antonio needs to tell her something important. Bianca finds Antonio to see what he has to say. Antonio says that he wants to marry her right now and asks her to close her eyes. Suddenly, Bianca experiences a fantasy she always dreamed about.